Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Tech Talks with NASSCOM Insights. My name is Bandev Ghosh, Senior Analyst, NASSCOM Insights. Joining me today is Padmashree Shagrithaya, Executive Vice President and Global Head of AI, Analytics and Data Science at Capgemini. In a diversified career spanning over 26 years, Padmashree has crafted and led multiple large and complex transformation programs, delivering strong business outcomes for many clients, leveraging data, technology, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. At Capgemini, she is the Global Head of AI, Analytics and Data Science, member of the Executive Committee for Insights and Data, Capgemini. She is responsible for steering global teams in AI and analytics towards being market leaders. As practice lead for AI and analytics business line, India, she holds the end-to-end responsibility of sales, business development, relationship management, delivery, operations, and PL management across all industry verticals for the business line. Thank you, Padmashree, and thank you for joining us. It's really a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
So if we can start out with our questions, Padmashree.
Go ahead.
So we just wanted to find out, your idea about this burgeoning demand landscape for AI and data science skills in India. So what do you think are the factors which is driving the demand for such professionals? It's like throughout our study we found that some people want to move into this in this particular area of career owing to the attractiveness quotient or higher than benchmark salaries or potential for career progression. So from your perspective, what do you think are the top reasons why people are flocking to this area of to pursue their career in like data science and AI?
Sure.
Is it at the level of the people who are interested to join, or there are technology or business reasons also? How do you see it?
Well, okay. So I think it is more than one. So I'll explain. See, when we say data science and AI, it is if you could imagine a Venn diagram of sorts, right? So you have you have the technology aspect of this, right? Which is almost it's probably amongst the top three technologically in any of this thing, it comes on the top, right? The business, so with all that they do, and the technology aspect of it, the technique aspect of it, where you have the mathematical and statistics influence into it, and then eventually you go and impact the business directly. Across the data and AI spectrum, if you look at it, right, so of bringing all the data, massaging the data, bringing meaning to the data. Eventually, the part of it that is going to really go and impact the business and be able to deliver value to the business is what we do through the machine learning, data science, and therefore AI, right? Therefore, the attraction to this whole thing. So it is not just technology. It is math and stat, it is technology, and therefore going ahead and influencing the business and making sense of it. And the other interesting part of this is it's not specific to one industry, or it is cutting across industries, and it is cutting across new age inventions of sorts, right? So whatever be the case today, the world is we talk in data and nothing else. So there is so much excitement in bringing these pieces and delivering value, not just the bottom line but the top line as well. So it's therefore the whole thing which is exciting for people, and therefore everybody is moving in this direction, I would say, right? So yeah, you get a complete
Sure.
thing in just one cup, if I can put it that way.
Right. It's interesting, Padmashree, you mentioned industries, and you say that the demand is seen across different industries. And by industries, I'm sure you are meaning the end user industries like banking, financial services, or healthcare, or industrials, or automotive manufacturing. So, do you think there is a pattern in terms of demand? Like, for example, are there certain industries which are more, more planned when it comes to data science and AI professionals? Taking them in and hiring more of them, than some other end user industries which are kind of lagging behind? Is there a difference, or more or less you see it across the board?
Well, that's a nice question. So this is this has been changing over the many years, right? So in so many
Hmm.
years of my career as well, I've been doing this for a very long time right now, right? Um, all of us know the first of the industries which had embraced analytics and then therefore moving towards more statistical based analysis, etc.
Yeah.
Analytics is, the banking and the insurance industries, right? So for risk assessment primarily in those days. And that's where most of us who are in the space of analytics, data science, and now in this have started our career if you have done so many years, right? From there, then it started spreading into the industries like, the uh, telcos, then the consumer
Yeah.
goods, right? And then, that's how the progression has been. And then, of course, the technology industry had already adopted it. It was all, what you call the digitally born industry, which is fine, right?
Yeah.
So, and then slowly and steadily, as we talk today, Bandev, this has just penetrated into every industry, from mining to manufacturing, to, of course, life sciences now big time, right?
Yeah.
And healthcare, right? So, there is not a single industry which is now saying, hey, I'm not interested in analytics or data science or AI to that extent. Every industry is now covered. The demand is coming from all these industries today. So if an organization is a leader in any of the industries across, they are already implemented value generating AI in some form or fashion across. So that's how I see this. So yes, if it was a few years back, the story would have been different. Today it is pan industry.
I'm glad that you mentioned banking, financial services. I'm sure you had a background in that particular
All of us.
industry before you. So my thing is, do you think, you know, when we talk about AI and data science talent, now there is a common pool. Now, and since, today data is the new oil, these things are passe, and many of these end user organizations are also building up their own in-house capabilities, or centers of excellence to be able to process the data, massage data, as you said, and bring their ML models into production, for example, deployment. So, do you think that, like, I mean, the service providers or the industry is actually competing with end user industries when it comes to data science and AI talent? Uh, is the same talent pool?
Yeah, in some extent, to some extent, Bande, what you're saying is true. Okay. Again, I'll take you back to the times when we started the whole thing, right? So I've spent a lot of time in the insurance industry,
Hmm.
and we would say, hey, and that's when, the whole spectrum of, whole this thing of outsourcing, many of the jobs kind of started. Okay, and we were also pondering as to what should be within and what should go as outsourced thing.
Right.
And the first and the way all these all of us used to define in those days where whatever is core would remain with us, and whatever is non-core or peripheral would can be kind of
Also.
outsourced. This is how we all started. Now, what does this mean? We meant that, for an insurance industry, it was underwriting, claim functions,
Yeah.
actuarial function. These are core, right? So therefore, we wouldn't outsource. This is how we started.
Hmm. Yeah.
Then said, okay, so if it is IT, you know what, we can't give them a super career in IT. So we are okay with, keeping the key people within the organization, and we'll go ahead and outsource. So that's how the whole industry started way back, right?
Right.
So cut then, you move today. Business decisioning is core. So we continue to think about the same way, right? So business decisioning is still core to the industries, right? And therefore, some part of the data science, therefore, all organizations are wanting to build this from within. And therefore, there is this question of how should the real model be? So many of the conversations, the consulting conversations that we do with our industry clients is to, kind of tell them what is the best way to organize yourself. So in order to, ensure that you don't leave your core, but at the same time, you partner well with the services industry.
Mhm.
So the view today, how it's panning out to be, etc., is that we have the business team also learning data science, what we call the citizen data scientists, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
everybody, even the management today, is being trained to know what can data science, what can machine learning do for them, to
Yeah.
be helping them in their decision making. So therefore, in some form or fashion, the key people are already enabled to understand and come back and kind of direct and give views of, hey, how do I want to use machine learning, use where do I want to use deep learning. These knowledge is pretty much there in the core with them, right? And therefore now they are slowly, they are fine with kind of outsourcing this, because you can't give and today data science is also not so pure, if I can use the word, how it used to be a few years back. What I
Okay.
mean by that is that if I'm a data scientist, if I were a data scientist 3-4 years back, I had to write the code, from the logistic regression or whatever technique that you're using. Your coding
Mhm.
was quite elaborate, right? So your training was quite elaborate. You had to use the data sets, primary data sets, to do all that, right? Now all those things have, we've come past all that. We have low code, no code being generated very easily. You have pre-built algorithms, right, which you
Yep.
use for use this and then retrain them and so on and so forth. So many things have moved past, right? So if you continue to say, hey, I will hold data scientists with me and I'll grow them internally, that's going to be difficult for industries, and the pool is very limited. Therefore there is the space is joint now, right? You could be within the industry, or you could be in the services industry, but now the partnership is getting stronger and stronger. And then
Right.
of course the hyperscalers, which is also now coming into the play, right? So it's now in that kind of pool, where you have the same folks, with this thing, and then you have the newer folks who are the industry specialists, who are also getting in the mainstream to learn what it is, and to partly kind of guide and everything. So that's a kind of mix that you're kind of seeing it right now, if I answered your question, Bande.
Sure. Actually, you covered quite a few, and I'm excited to cover some of those pointers. You have
Sure, sure.
mentioned hyperscalers, you have mentioned pre-built and pre-configured solutions. I'm sure you're talking about as a service models like, Auto ML and things like that. And I'm sure you're also talking about ML ops. That particular thing is gaining currency right now.
Correct, correct.
Now,
But
my
I also alluded towards transformer models, or where you could pick up existing algorithms and then kind
okay.
of infuse. I was also referring to this, and of course you touched the right ones of MLOps and others. Yeah, move on. Go ahead with your question.
Yeah. So the other one is about the hiring part, Padmashree. So, um, if you look at the skills part, I'm sure you don't do hiring, I mean, at your level, but looking at, your line managers, etc., and the overall function that you lead, uh, what do you think are the kind of skills that are in demand in market? Like, I'm talking about like skills which are core to data science and AI functions, like ML engineer or
Sure,
data
sure,
scientists.
sure,
And obviously,
sure.
we also have a large portion um, before data science and AI kicks in, which is like the data part, the data management and data landscape part, data
Absolutely.
engineers, for example. What do you think is the kind of demand for these kind of roles?
Absolutely. Okay, so that's a good question. So the space of we call it insights and data, but data and AI, right? When I explain to somebody, is in the form of a pyramid, if you can imagine.
Mhm.
Okay, when I'm saying a pyramid, at the bottom of the pyramid, which is large, and therefore the volume of work being higher, right, is in the space of data engineering, right? Because
Hmm.
your data is all over the place.
Yeah.
Your data is lying between functions, across
Right.
geographies, and whatever you call it, right? So
Right.
The thing of bringing all these data together, right? Either you want to bring it together or you want to do it in the form of a data mesh. Choices of architectures are there, right? In
Absolutely.
that space, you have the roles of a data engineer. You could call them big data engineers, you could
Yeah.
call them ETL experts, you could call them data management experts, right? There are
Hmm.
various layers of people that you will require at that point in time, right?
Right.
And then of course you need very good architects to say, how do I bring this data, right? Where should this reside? In which kind of cloud? What should be in on premise and what should be on the cloud? So on and so forth. So that's the fundamental foundation. And then of course, data lakes and how do you want to store the data? Blah blah blah. That's the first layer. Then comes the middle layer, right, which is about data governance. Okay.
Hmm.
I have all these set of data. I know my data is residing all over the place. I know that, what kind of data is there, but, how do I make meaning out of this data? How do I ensure that this data is being collected, preserved, enriched, and checked, verified, and provided to the next layer of consumption layer in the best possible manner? Comes the data governance, right? So the experts there, the kind of roles there would be MDM experts, master data management. I would want data lineage experts. I would look at, data quality experts, right? So all of those are now, in fact, even more important today. Many a times when you're talking to the AI professionals in the past, um, again, I am also talking about my own evolution, right? So people, analytics professionals would say, hey, I don't care about data. You do whatever you want. You give me this data and I will create the algorithms for you, right?
Hmm.
Gone are those days, because the data is just so humongous, right? That you need this layer very clearly maintained, and you need to know who is the owner of the data, how is this data going to get its life, right? So on and so forth. So then this set of as I said, the data governance engineers, data quality engineers, and so on and so forth is important. Then comes your top consumption layer, in my view, which is basically
Hmm.
the analytics, data science, and AI professionals. There, the kind of roles that we see are obviously the data scientists, who, in my view, as I told you, comes as a combination of somebody who knows mathematics, statistics, and
Yeah.
be able to tell you what kind of algorithm, what kind of techniques to be used, and start, exploring the data to figure out what's happening within the data, what kind of spreads that the data is showing, so on and so forth. That's one side of it. And now once that is done, you need to take this to scale, right? So you can't just have visualizing the data and creating the models to help predict, prescribe, but you need to really take this whole thing into production.
Yeah.
So there is a need for API developers. This space is
API.
getting
Hmm.
more and more interesting and complex, no? So as we talk, right? And then I told you about the low code, no code. So the ML
Yes.
engineers come into the picture, right? So we have ML engineers, we have the data scientists, we have the analysts, we have business analysts who are working in the space to say, hey, how can I solve, what kind of a business understanding, and how do I bring this in? So, and then more SMEs and so on and so forth, right? So this whole thing, I can go on explaining more and more roles, but largely this is how I kind of structure and tell somebody as to these are the quick roles that you will be
Sure.
requiring.
That helps. So Padmashree, the other one is about, go to market. Like when you speak with your customers, and by that I mean end user customers across different industries, what do you think they want to achieve? It's Is it just a fad that okay, some of their competitors are doing it, or they're really the higher up or the management has bought into this concept that okay, AI is going to deliver real value to us. So if that is the case, then is it optimization? Is it cost? Is it competitive advantage? Or like what is driving their investments in AI?
Super. Okay, so I think gone are the days when AI is done in an organization for validating it, or for just telling others that, hey, we are also doing AI. Gone are those days. I told you a little while back, right? So in fact, I know of the entire management team, which is given a specialized training program to, really understand the space deeper than what one would otherwise think. And therefore, how can this be used to influence the top line, bottom line, differentiator, so on and so forth. So in fact, most of the you know um, top tier industry clients, right, and their management today know pretty much as what is the advantage of having implemented AI. But AI itself is has many facets to it, right? If I just purely go from a technical hat, right? So one part of it is how do you use NLP, NLG in the space of their textual data, right, or the social data, and so on and so forth, or taking data from videos and computer vision, therefore, right, videos and image analytics and so on and so forth. And then, of course, the machine learning and then deep learning. And you go on to how do you use techniques to be able to, influence decision making, right? Or you're looking at even reinforcement learning has become much more sought after thing today, right? So net, the answer to your question, in a nutshell, people are using this with a clear cut vision, and a strategy on how do they want to use this for influencing their, top line, bottom line, as a differentiator already, right? So it is no more a fancy thing to do, and therefore the need for it to be implemented at scale, and what I've been talking about.
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to point out something. Like this year, we conducted, a survey at the end user industries in India. I mean, like 4 or 5 core sectors that also included healthcare and banking, amongst others. I think industrials and automotive are the other sectors. So, and we wanted to find out the level of adoption of AI in their processes and within their organizations across departments, and what is the level of penetration of AI in terms of strategy, in terms of people, in terms of operations, in terms of value add. So one of the things that came out, like one of the barriers which came out, I would say, is like mm, inability to measure the outcome, or the unavailability of measurement metrics to be able to understand what exactly is the kind of value, whether in terms of top line or in terms of bottom line or in terms of operations or cost. So some of these challenges were still there, and they have said it like. We understand the business value, but we are not able to transform that into numbers or metrics. So is that something which you also face? I'm sure Capgemini has a large transformation and the consulting team that does such kind of work. But you also face this when the customers are asking about this thing?
Yes, Bandev. That is a fair ask, and many of our clients are also still, as I said, right. So okay, so number one, the clients, you can plot them in a graph of sorts, if you will, will you know will be scattered across the maturity spectrum, if I can.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
So the digitally native clients don't struggle with this question very much, and those which are whose services are rendered through digital platforms, right?
Yeah.
Fully digital platforms do not struggle with this question, because the measurement becomes very easy, because it's all data. The data is well captured, right? And the question is about ensuring that you understand the data better, and going ahead with it. So measurement becomes easy. But still there is a need for the measurement, and therefore what should be measured depending on, like, if it is a, let's take examples, right? If it is in the space of a customer click to customer, as an intent to becoming a customer conversion, right?
Yeah.
Whether this was part because of the campaign that was run, which of the campaigns that was run, and therefore, how do you attribute, right, the success to the initiative, if you will, right? So, but there are many methods that have already been developed, right, using, saying, attribution models, and that acceptance have already come in. So in that kind of industry where they are mature with respect to digital presence, we know what is the KPI, and we know how to measure it, and therefore we are largely okay. Now comes the complexity of the clients who are then partially digital, right? Who've been almost always a brick and mortar kind of a thing in the past, and now are moving towards collecting the data systematically, and therefore moving towards implementing AI in their various processes. For instance, there the question comes quite often, and then that's the spectrum I'm talking about. Yes, in those cases, what we have now, we've also matured, right? So we kind of know exactly which process, how should it be measured, what should be measured, and how should that be measured, right? So we then kind of advise our clients, hey, if you're actually looking at, let's say, your operations space, right? You're looking at billing to invoice, right? If that's what invoice to pay, yeah, whatever. I'm just to be this thing, right? So how do you actually do it, right? How do you measure it? Because you would want to know whether the AI investment that you have made has prompted you that these are the these are the top bills to go behind to be able to convert that into pay, right? Or is it your other initiatives, which is the brick and mortar initiative of people calling and saying, hey, have you paid? Have you paid? Will you pay? Right? So, but again, there, as I said, there is a measurement strategy that we help with our clients as to how to go about, and therefore we slowly moving in that direction. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Moving back to the hiring part, Padmashree. So now this is a common refrain. I mean, all the people that we have spoken with, I mean, nobody says there are enough people on the market. So obviously there is going to be a shortage of professionals, and you have also alluded to it, that demand is always going to be more than the kind of supply that we have. Is it a very big challenge, or is it a real challenge that you have? How do you see this demand supply disparity going ahead in the next 2 years? I mean, I'm sure this landscape is changing so fast. It's very difficult to kind of look into the future and say, okay, this is going to be the thing. But from a very high level perspective, what are your thoughts? Like, do you see the gap lessening down in the coming years, or it's going to remain like this?
Again, it's a tough question, I'll say. Okay. Yes, there is a huge dearth of talent, right? But the definition of talent itself, Bandev, is changing.
Yeah.
Okay. I told you, right? So a few years back, it was a data scientist who would know, who would come with a lot of statistical knowledge and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And then now we are saying, hey, and then at some point people started saying, I need full stack developers. Then they said, oh, you know what? I need a lot of business knowledge in the person built in. And now we are saying, oh, we have low code, no code, etc. So to build a model is not so complicated. I need to have ML engineers who will be able to, take my model into production, know how to create the pipelines, how to maintain the pipelines, and then how to look at the models post production, and with the knowledge of being able to retrain the models, and so on and so forth. So it's all of us actually are struggling to create this workforce with all these knowledge, with the continual change of the technology on one side, continual improvement in the techniques on the other side, and therefore reskilling our folks, right? Now that is where I am coming to. The smart organizations we all try to upskill, reskill our folks quite a bit. So there is a lot of investment that we do today in building people from within, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, and how do we catch up? So is there a dearth of talent? Yes, there is a dearth of talent. Is there a huge demand for this space? Yes, there is a huge demand for the same. Is there a definition of what we want? There is no definition. That is where I'm coming to.
Yeah.
We need more folks to be more dynamic, more willing to learn, right? Adapting to new changes quite quickly, right? Those are I'm probably repeating the words in different synonyms of the thing, but that is what it is today, right? So therefore, we spend a lot in upskilling our folks, retraining them, and reskilling them. So that's how we kind of catch up.
So reskilling is actually the next portion of my the list of questions. Glad that you have already broached that subject. But before moving there, Padmashree, I just wanted to find out. So when it comes to people and the challenges that you highlight, is it so when you look at resumes or the job description? So is there a discrepancy in terms of what the customers want or what the organization wants and what the candidates bring to the table? Is there always a tussle between must have skills or good to have skills? Like obviously somewhere what my question is, somewhere you need to make a compromise kind of thing, that okay, let us remove the must have and put it in good to have. So is there also something which is happening from your perspective?
100%. Yes, there is this problem definitely because, as I said, the definition itself is changing continuously, Bandev, right? While I would have started my project, I would have wanted a different set of skill sets in the innovation space, if I can call it, right? And then we go on to figuring out, okay, I've innovated, I want to do a POC and then a POV, and then I want to try it on production, and then I want to scale it, and so on and so forth. So there is that evolution. When that is happening, your fundamental technologies have changed. You thought when you were doing the innovation or the testing of proof of testing, when you're starting off, you thought you were going to go on a certain cloud. But by the time you have proved it, you realize that, oh, that cloud is not going to, I'm purposely not naming the cloud, vendor. But, by then you realize, oh, this is not going to work for me. And therefore I need to change the architecture, right? So therefore, the technology also is continuously evolving through the project life cycle. So therefore, and then the business. So therefore what happens is that we need the kind of people, the skill sets that we require in a person continuously changes. And that is a big problem. At times we have to come and say, hey, you can't have all of this in one
All the
person,
skills.
right? So we need to necessarily break this down into two or three, or sometimes it is even five people that we are saying, and all this will not be there in one person, right? So that's where, I was also talking about the fact that you need to have, additional skill sets trained in a person, but you can't be expert in everything. So yes, that is a real problem in my view, Patrick.
Now moving on to reskilling, upskilling, you've mentioned the L&D programs, etc. Now it's kind of becoming a norm. So all these service providers are having their in-house things. So they are either developing their own modules or they're trying up, you know, alliancing with third-party providers like MOOCs or the edtech platforms, for example, to deliver some of these modules which are in critical demand. Now my thing is, so when it comes to reskilling, upskilling, I'll just give you a small background. So in our report, we have called out something called the reskilling index, in the sense that, okay, we take a entire landscape of skills which are similar, but not exactly data science and AI. So we call them adjacent skills. Now, what our point of view is, like, we are asking the participants of the companies that how do you identify the roles which are closest to data science and AI. And when you run your L&D programs or reskilling programs, is there a benchmark that, okay, some of these skills are more attuned to, pivot to data science roles as compared to some other roles where the index can be on the lower side? So is there something of that sort? I mean, who are the people who have a brighter future or who can move into a data science role more quickly than others?
Okay. See, there are many adjacent skills, I would say. I'll explain what I mean again, right? There are times when a Python developer who is absolutely good at what he is doing could be taught, the analytics side of the game, or if you will, in terms of what is teach them the statistics part of the data, right? And then say, hey, these are the algorithms, and then train them onto them and put them onto it, right? That is one kind of an adjacent skill which could go into that direction, where he comes from a more technology based coding background, and therefore wanting to move in this direction. The other background could be, the statisticians themselves, right, who have gotten on to the computer science knowledge, etc. Right? They could then they could be trained how to code, right? Of course, then they could use much more easier tools today, and they could then move into this direction, right? People who worked with data quite extensively, right? Quite extensively, like the visualization professionals, for instance, right? Who have in some sort of form not used the higher order statistics, but have definitely used box plots and understand data through visualization pretty well, could also become good candidates for moving in this direction. So at the end of the day, I think you need to have that hunger, right? And you need to have that hunger to learn, okay, and then want to reskill, upskill yourself. I think there are many adjacent skills whom you can pick up and kind of get them onto this track, Bandev. So I'm a big proponent of saying, hey, I don't want, I don't think only the best in class person who is an expert in everything can actually do it. I look for a person who is really, really hungry to learn, want to go ahead and implement and see outcome of what he or she is doing. I look for such kind of professionals typically. So you could train many of them such that way.
So it's mostly about aptitude, right?
It is mostly about aptitude, willingness to learn, wanting to prove, etc. Of course, you need to have one of the adjacent skills that I just talked about, but there are many, is all that I'm trying to say.
Well, that answers my question. So I think, Padmashree, we are done with the list of questions that I started out with. Thank you so much for taking time out. I'm sure you're really busy, and it's good for us that we could get your perspectives on some of the pressing questions that we have currently. Yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much. And this is an opportunity, so I'm happy. Thank you.